Okay, we're back on Uygur Obnoxious Cam. Lunchtime in the parking lot as usual. And we're going to talk a little bit about the ridiculous situation going on in the Democratic Party. Again, it's almost like every hour something crazy happens with those loons. It's so funny. So you have the governor of Washington, Jay Inslee, has declared that he's going to run for president. So you have more candidates coming out, and we're not even sure how many there's going to be. I don't even know if my Senator Sherrod Brown could be running for president, who's an absolute useless piece of crap. But in the grand scheme of things, I think he's not. Some of the people actually make him look like presentable. Some of the people that are in the Democratic primary. You have this loon, Marianne Williamson. You have Beto, Mr. Root Canal, and Elizabeth Warren. So yeah, I think Sherrod Brown at this point has a legitimate shot. But really, the focus right now is on this ridiculous House subcommittee issue and all of the people that are trying to, the Democrats have this House majority right now that they're using with their darndest effort to screw up. Okay? The problem with having a House majority when you don't have a Senate majority is that nothing that you do actually really matters unless the Senate goes along with you. And it's not necessarily likely that many of these senators are going to. For example, Doug Jones of Alabama, who's a Democrat, may be looking at his cards and saying, well, I don't think I should vote with the rest of my party very often because I'm up for election in 2020, and he's going to have a rough road in 2020 because you're going to have the Republicans calling him out for being a far leftist and getting the help of one of these data manipulation agencies to defeat Roy Moore in 2017. I think it was 2017 when that was the Roy Moore election. You're going to have a lot of liberals saying, well, he's voting with the Republicans a lot, so he's going to have a rough road ahead. But back to the House Democrats, there's a lot of fallout from the Michael Cohen testimony from Wednesday with Rashida Tlaib going and saying a number of things, trying to characterize the use, well, she would characterize it as the use of Lynn Patton as a prop in order to hide GOP racism, specifically the racism of somebody like Mark Meadows, which when Lynn Patton fired back, said she's not a prop, and it is really ridiculous that the same thing happened when the tax bill went through, and the tax bill has its flaws, but when the tax bill went through and was signed by Trump, and he made a big press conference at the White House and had a bunch of senators with him. The senator that was right next to him was Tim Scott, and people said, well, he's just a prop. He's the only black Republican in the Senate, and I think there was one black Republican in the House. Well, Tim Scott helped to draft the tax bill, and he fired back. He said, what do you mean I'm a prop? I actually helped work on this. You're not even letting me take credit for the work that I'm doing. So that's a Democratic attitude towards people that they disagree with, but happen to be from the racial category that they're supposed to be caping for. They say that they're a prop, that they're window dressing. Well, I think that Elijah Cummings had a really sticky situation dealing with that when he had to go and say to Tlaib, essentially, you might want to reconsider your words. Elijah Cummings is the head of the subcommittee and of the committee. He's the committee chair. And I think he was involved in the sit-ins in the 60s in Maryland, I believe. I think he's from Maryland. He's from Baltimore. Baltimore, by the way, Maryland, if you don't know, I think did have segregation, if I'm not mistaken. Maryland was a slave-owning state. It was not exactly a northern stronghold. It didn't secede during the Civil War, but it was a slave-holding state. Just like Kentucky, just like Delaware, I believe, Missouri. So people have a very sticky situation when they have to debate people and then somebody else yells racism, and you don't want them to yell racism. So it was a really problematic session for him. Then, I think it was yesterday, there was a report going out that Pelosi had a conference with all of the House Democrats and said to the moderates like Donna Shalala, for example, she might be an example, but really these people who won districts in the last election that had been majority Republican for many, many years. The ones in Orange County, there was one in South Carolina that they won, and she essentially said to them, you either vote like a pack with us, or we're basically going to deny you funding through the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. We're going to go and take notes and see if you're really loyal to our agenda, and if you're not, we're just going to we're not going to support you. We're either you support us or we're not going to support you. And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez also issued a threat saying that she was going to note who votes on some of these procedural votes in the House, motions to reconsider, which is what, let's say a vote passes in the House and somebody wants to throw in an amendment. I think that's called a motion to reconsider, or a motion to resubmit. I forgot what it's called. I was reading about it earlier, and this guy almost crashed into my car. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, so they have this motion to reconsider, and a lot of the Democrats who are centrists will vote for those motions to reconsider so the Republicans can then add their amendments to the bill, and then the bill goes to the Senate with a number of amendments that Senate Democrats would probably not support. So it's actual sabotage of the House Democrats legislation that some of these Democrats are doing, because they don't want to be signed on to bills that are so plain ridiculous that they're not going to be able to go back to their constituents and really support them. There was the gun control bill for this week, which I oppose anyway, which the Democrats passed, and the Republicans put on a motion to reconsider, and I believe that the amendment they put on was to prohibit, to say that if an illegal immigrant is caught with a firearm, they are immediately reported to ICE. The Democrats didn't want that, but the moderate Democrats did, and they agreed to have it added on to the legislation, and therefore a lot of these senators in the in the Senate, they're going to have a hard time supporting that background check. I'm talking about Democratic senators are going to have a hard time supporting a Democratic bill, because they're going to be saying, well, we're supposed to be fighting ICE, and instead we're going to be reporting people to them because they're going to be caught with illegal weapons. So they're going to have to oppose a bill that deals with illegal aliens having illegal weapons, which is the only way an illegal alien would have it. You're not allowed to buy a weapon in the U.S. if you're an illegal alien. They can't win that way. So then there's the issue of Ocasio-Cortez threatening them by saying, okay, we're going to primary you. We're going to primary you using the Justice Democrats and the what's the other organization they have? The Brand New Congress, I think, is another one. And she's facing kind of an ethics probe, which I'm not really sure if it's warranted. So I'm not going to just say she should be indicted or anything, because I don't know enough about the situation yet. But she is making so many enemies within the House from the center of the aisle that eventually I think some of these people are going to succeed in pressuring New York State to eliminate her congressional district. She will be redistricted to fight somebody who's not going to be somebody who could probably beat her because they're a little more well-heeled, organized, and funded. Somebody like Hakeem Jeffries, who I don't support either. That's the problem that they're going through. So anyway, I want to cut it short here because I do need to get going. But I did want to update you guys, and also I have been getting messages that you're not getting my notifications. If you're not getting notifications, you have to subscribe to me on BitChute. That's what I keep telling you. BitChute, you get the notification. It works completely fine. Usually you just get it later than you would on YouTube, because it takes a while for it to be, I guess, mirrored over there. So subscribe to me on BitChute. Subscribe to me on Minds.com, where I do share a lot of my other videos, and also on Gab. And you can find all of the other social media for this channel and my other works elsewhere. I will try to put it in the comments at some point. And I'll talk to you guys later. Have a happy Friday and a good weekend, a good Shabbos for those of you that do celebrate it, and also a good Sunday. And I'll be in touch with you throughout the weekend. Bye-bye.